Awesome. Welcome. I'm so glad to have you here. Feeling like the birthday prince that I am, day 3 of my 33 lessons. So yeah, I'd love to invite you to drop in a little bit if that feels good. You can close your eyes, you can just rest your gaze, whatever feels right for you. Taking some nice deep breaths, expanding the belly, expanding the chest, finding yourself in your body, inviting your spirit to be in relationship to your body. Maybe your spirit wants to come into your body or be around your body. Maybe it's expansive and your body is within your spirit. That one always feels really good for me, to just invite my body back into my spirit. So whatever feels good for you, maybe stretching or letting your body move or yawn or shift. Seeing if there's any places of tension that you can relax a little bit. Breathing into those. I love to drop my shoulders and open my jaw as wide as it will go. Just inviting some really yummy release and unfurling. And whenever you're ready, starting to see yourself inside this incredible golden egg, this iridescent shell of magic, this container that's just for you, where you get to be centered in it, safe and secure and sovereign inside of that yummy golden egg. Feeling yourself so at home there, and noticing any details about the egg that feel good or important to notice. Noticing its size and its shape, noticing its relationship to you and the qualities of that egg. What does it feel like to be inside of it? Is it soft? Is it comforting? Is it nebulous? Is it jello-like? What's going on in there? Just bringing your attention to that. And again, inviting your body to relax even deeper in this space of safety, this space of sovereignty. And then inviting you to breathe out and release anything from the day or from the week that you just don't want to carry right now. Knowing you can always pick it back up, but for this moment, just deciding to let it go, deciding to let it rest and release. Maybe it feels good to do that in an exasperated exhale, letting that out. And then feeling the room that opens up within you and your golden egg. And then deciding with intention what you would like to do with that open space. Do you want to keep it open? Do you want to explore it? Do you want to invite in an intention or something to take its place? Giving yourself a moment to feel into that. And then calling in any well bright ancestors, any beloved transcestors, any blessed transcendents, calling in guiding spirits and earth allies, and any benevolent energies that want to show up and support us today. And really feeling them arrive, feeling them populate and show up in our space, feeling them solidify and uphold our circle. And then in your mind's eye, beginning to notice the other golden eggs in our circle, the other incredible humans who are on this call or who are joining us through space and time. Just feeling what it feels like to be in relationship in a circle of golden eggs coming together, gathering. Noticing what it feels like to feel so secure and so sovereign in your egg as we gather in a circle of golden eggs. And then noticing the space in the middle of our circle. This will be our playful landscape of co-creation today. Just noticing anything that pops up in that center space. Noticing the landscape, noticing what everyone is bringing, the energies, the intentions, the humanity, the divinity, and allowing yourself to tune into that for a moment. Breathing it all in. Knowing that that's the place we're going to play in today. And then whenever you're ready, beginning to shift your body and shift your awareness into this present moment. Maybe you want to stretch or yawn or shake or make some sounds. Taking your time to return to your body right now, the space you're in, and then the screen and our circle today. Beautiful. Welcome back. Thank you for going on that journey with me and opening the circle with me. And now I'm going to share a slideshow. And now technology, an eternal learning process. Okay, welcome to my birthday extravaganza day 3. Super excited for day 3. Like I said, this is like the fun miscellaneous lessons. I've been on this planet for 33 years and 6 days. And I've definitely learned a lot by doing. From that sweet little alien baby, like stretching my hand for the first time, to now a 33-year-old adult human. I often wake up and I'm like, oh my God, I'm an adult. I can do whatever I want. This is cool. This is awesome. So yeah, you can see me there when I'm 9 months old, getting this awesome chair for Christmas that I was so psyched about. Next to that is a picture of me, my first time in the ocean at 7 years old, being raised in Missouri, like, and then discovering the ocean as a 7-year-old was like freaking awesome and amazing, and I've loved the ocean ever since. So you can just see that like pure glee, pure joy on my face. And then there I am feeding a home lamb in Iceland. Home lambs are the lambs that needed us to take care of them, and they stayed home for the summer so we could. It was always such a pleasure to hold them and feed them 3 times a day. So yeah, there I am at 19 feeding a home lamb. And then there I am on Saturday on my 33rd birthday with this big stick that I found that I was so excited about. My beloved 9-year-old niece took that picture and we had a lot of fun posing with that stick. It's just some really fun experiences I've had in my lifetime as a human being on this planet. And I want to talk about some lessons today, 11 lessons. My first one is know your lineages. It's been a very powerful thing for me to know my lineages, to be in touch with my ancestors, my bloodlines, the ancient ones, also like the earth as an ancestor, the earth as part of the lineage, feeling like my ancestors in my blood, in my body, in my spirit. Doing a lot of ancestor work, doing a lot of work to know where I come from and who I want to be and what kind of ancestor I want to be. And seeing myself as part of a line has been really helpful for me. I think I'm not alone on this planet. I'm very much a part of this long lineage, and I'm in the middle of it. I'm not at the end. I stand very much in the middle of it, which feels really good. And then also lineages can be our cultural lineage. What is it like to be a queer person on this planet? What is it like to be a trans person or to be an artist or a creator? There's all kinds of lineages that I love to think of. There's also lineage of practice. When we do a modality like breath work or yoga, what's the lineage of that? Who did we learn from? Who did they learn from? What lineage are we taking part in, and how do we honor that lineage? How do we add to that lineage? How do we tend that lineage? It's been really powerful work for me to do. And in this photo, you can see that's my great-grandfather, my Jiddu Harry Halim Lahoud, came here from Lebanon and actually ended up passing away long before I was able to meet him. But he's someone that I connected with about a year and a half ago with the help of my friend, Lou Elda, who's an incredible spirit like speaker, I would say. I'm not sure exactly how Lou talks about their work, but they're incredible. and they help me connect with him. And I've been really grateful to have his energy and his to be connected with him. And even like one of the things about how much we are connected to our family and our lineages, all our lineages, I've always like not loved my chin and my lower my lower face. And then when I saw this picture of him, which I didn't even know who it was when I first saw it a few years ago in my mom's home, I was like, who is that? She's like, that's your great grandfather. When I first saw that picture of him, I was like, oh my God, we have the same chin. And that makes me actually like love my chin. It feels like a gift from my lineage. It doesn't feel like something that I'm, rallying against anymore. It feels like something really special, like a really magical gift. So I connect with my Judo Harry Halim all the time. I feel really, really connected to him and really connected to his lineage. And he feels like a really well bright ancestor for me, which feels really special. And I want to be a well bright ancestor for my descendants. Something beautiful to focus on and think about. And that leads me to my next one, which is ritual practice. Ritual practice has been a life-changing practice for me. I've been doing it for several years. Someone that's helped me with it so much is my dear friend Brooke Herr. Brooke's thought and work around ritual has been really informative to me. And it's really taught me how to create containers, how to set intentions. It's taught me how to practice symbolism and ask for help and guidance. One of the things that was a real aha moment for me in my ritual practice was in a session with Brooke. Brooke let me know that rituals can be carried out in imaginal, liminal spaces and astral planes, and not in this reality, not in this realm. And that just like blew open my whole ritual practice, because I was like, oh, now we can just do whatever I want to imagine. And another thing Brooke taught me was to ask my well-bright ancestors to tend to me. So as a coach, after every session, one of the ways that I close my sessions is I do a grounding meditation or little ritual with the person I'm coaching. And then after the call is ended, I celebrate privately. And then I always lay down for a few minutes in stillness and I ask my ancestors to tend to me. And it's really powerful. Sometimes they'll cocoon me. Sometimes they'll swaddle me like a baby. Sometimes they'll feed me. Sometimes they'll comb my hair. Sometimes they'll bathe me. Sometimes they'll just like wrap me in these beautifully woven blankets. There's a lot of wrapping, which feels really good. And another person that's been really a powerful teacher for me when it comes to ritual practice and ancestor work is Dr. Pavani Moray. Pavani's pronouns are P, and P really taught me how to tune in much farther, how not just to go to like this realm or my known ancestors, but to go back as far as I can, to go back into the ancient ones, to see ritual as this like thing that ties us to the earth and to the ancient ancestors. And that's been a really powerful thing for me too. And the way that Pavani works with elements is super inspiring for me. Just leaning into water, leaning into earth, fire, air, leaning into ether has been a really powerful practice. And in this picture, you can see my prosperity box. I ran out of altar space about a year and a half ago. And so I started making these altar boxes. So in this altar box are roses, cash money, glitter, cedar, like a little piece of a cedar tree that I can burn, and then some gold tape. And then tied to this box on the front of it is the tarot card, the 10 of Pentacles, because when I was making this altar box, that's the card that I drew, and that's the card that feels really related to this box. So many days I'll take this box out and I'll do ritual with it, I'll pray with it, I'll sit with it, I'll be with it. And for me, ritual is really a place where we can take things that feel illogical or too big or too vast, and we can just like create these humongous expansive containers to hold them and to honor them and to be with them. It's also a place that I've worked with a lot of my anxieties. Yes, there's a lot of things we can do for anxiety, a lot of like logical in this world things. And there's also a lot of things that we can do in ritual space, which feels really, really good to me. Very powerful. Whenever I'm struggling with something and I'm not quite sure what the answer is, I'll often turn to ritual as a way to just work it through or see what else is there for me or ask some questions. And I'll also look to nature. Nature is such a beautiful resource for us. We are a part of nature, and nature has so much wisdom. When I was cutting this pepper and I found this little growth, this little like baby pepper inside of it, I got so excited. And it's like nature is, nature isn't uniform. Nature also like is cyclical and nature doesn't waste. And like, it's just, I love looking to it so much. It's such a powerful thing. And again, that elemental wisdom and the archetypes that can be a really powerful medicine for us. They can be a really powerful permissioning for us and way to look at ourselves and ourselves in relationship to the world around us, which is also an invitation to allow ourselves to ebb and flow. Nature goes through cycles, and so do we. I constantly remind myself of this, like I'm a living, breathing, changing being. My cells are regenerating, things are changing. I'm affected by the circumstance, I'm affected by the atmosphere, by the season, by the energies around me. And so my needs and my boundaries and my desires, they're going to change, they're going to ebb, they're going to flow. So is my capacity. Sometimes I have this incredible capacity. I want to be very social. I want to be outside. I want to be making things and doing things. I don't need a lot of sleep. And then sometimes I need to sleep like 12 hours a day. And I just need to be like alone, reading poetry and making sure that I feed myself. And so that's one thing that I really lean into is the cycles of nature and letting them be this like giant permission slip and this way to understand the way that we change and the way that we flow. And it's so beautiful. I love thinking about metaphors from nature and how there's times to plant, there's times to tend, there's times to gather, to harvest, to rest. And I wish we were living closer to nature. One thing that really blew me away when I was 19 and I first went to Iceland was the word for ground is actually the word for earth. So when someone says, oh, just set that on the ground, they say, oh, just set that on the earth. And that really made me like feel this deep connection to the earth in a way that I hadn't felt before. Growing up in the suburbs in Missouri, we weren't really focused on the earth, but suddenly being 19 and working on a farm in rural Iceland, there was a lot more nature to look at. From the kitchen window, I could see a glacier, a river, I could see hot springs, I could see mountains. And I used to just like look out at that landscape from the farm window and just think like, oh my God, like this is incredible. There's so many different things. There's so many different ways of being, and none of them are wrong. So yeah, invitations to ebb and flow. Metaphor magic. I love metaphors. I mean, my Mercury is in Pisces, so the way that I think and talk is like not so linear, which feels really good to embrace. When I first found that out, I was really excited. Language is just one way that we can express and understand ourselves. And it is a huge way that we do that, but there's so many other ways. We can lean into visuals, we can lean into sound, we can lean into color and energy and texture. And I love the way that metaphor makes that possible and makes that feel easier to access. And yes, we can definitely use language when we like think about or talk about or express metaphor, but I feel like metaphors are so expansive, they're so nuanced, they have more complexity, they have more texture to them than just speaking directly. So things that I really like to use, metaphors and symbolism. Eggs is one of my favorite things. An egg can mean something different depending on what context it is in. When I was studying to be a dominatrix, my mentor was talking about symbolism in sessions and did this whole incredible example of an apple, how an apple can mean different things depending if you're giving an apple to a teacher, if you're giving, if Eve is eating the apple, like what does the apple mean? What is the apple doing in that context? And so that's one of the things I love about metaphor and symbolism is like they are so expansive and so vast, and they really speak to our complex understanding and our layered, nuanced understanding of the world around us and ourselves in it. Inner landscapes. Speaking of metaphor and richness, our inner landscapes are so vast and rich and expand forever. And the more that I take time to look at that and to be in that, the more magic that I find. I was really not wanting to be still for most of my life. And then a few years ago, when I started doing sessions with Lou Elda, Lou was saying, stillness is a really important part of life. And the more that I've been practicing stillness in the last few years, the more expansive my inner landscapes have revealed themselves to be. When I get to be still and sort of shut out outer stimulation and look inward, the things that expand and flow are just, it's like absolutely incredible. It's like, oh yeah, this body is just one little part of me. And the internal landscapes that exist within it and around it and outside of it are just like so expansive and so huge. Also, this image is it's a scan of a root that I intentionally glitched. We were learning, I can't believe this, but in art school like 8 years ago, we were learning how to glitch images by going into the code of the images and messing with them. And I thought that was really, really cool, like the inner landscape of the code. And when you just fuck with it a tiny bit, add one character or delete a few characters, like you get a whole nother thing. So that was really exciting to me too, is like everything has in your landscapes, everything has this like expansive vastness within it if we actually look and we take the time to explore it. And let it make sense later. I love this lesson. This lesson has been really powerful for me. We don't have to be linear. We don't have to figure everything out. We can just sort of make sense of things later if we want. We also don't have to do that. Like I said, when I was 19, I went to Iceland. It was on a whim. It was because I was living in San Francisco and I was about to lose my housing. I didn't know who or how to live there. I didn't know who to live with, and everyone I interviewed with like did not want to live with a 19-year-old, which I fully get now, but at the time was really frustrating and scary. And so I was not sure I was going to live. And a good friend of mine said to me, just like, you're 19, go do something fun. Like, you don't have to live here, like go do something fun. And I had enrolled in the City College of San Francisco, which cost a few $1,000s, and I was within my time of getting a full refund. And so I did that, and then I bought a ticket to Iceland because 6 months before I had seen a documentary called Screaming Masters about punk music and poetry culture in Iceland, which are really overlapped. And I was like, fuck yeah, I'm going to Iceland. So 2 weeks later, I went to Iceland. I was there for 6 months. I worked on a farm. It was incredible. Did not make any sense at the time. I didn't even tell my parents about it till I'd been there for a few months. I like wrote them a letter. Yeah, it made like no sense at the time. And now when I look back, I'm like, oh my God, that made so much sense on so many levels. That's what I had to do. And that was super informative for my life. That changed the whole course of my life. That changed what I'm interested in. I felt really independent for the first time at 19, getting to go there by myself. I learned the language. I fell in love. I met so many beautiful humans. So it was really powerful. And yeah, it did not make sense at the time. But now looking back, my sister and I were kind of laughing like, oh, it makes perfect sense now. 14 years later, it makes so much sense. So, as they say, hindsight is 2020, and the dots will eventually connect if you want them to. And it's also okay if you don't want them to. But trying to do things in linear ways. We're not linear beings. We don't need to live these linear paths. So giving ourselves like full permission to just allow for that. I always think of David Byrne singing to a lamp and singing this like love song to a lamp. And like he said often, like, stop making sense. Don't always have to make sense. Which is also why it's important to make silly art. After art school, after like studying design and fine arts in such a serious institutional way, I was really burnt out. I was really jaded. In fact, my mentor at the time, the dean of my department, said like the best way to get burnt out on something is to study it in an institution. And I felt like she was super right. And then the way that I've been healing that is just by making silly art, by letting myself work in mediums that I don't know, by letting myself buy kids' art supplies, glitter glue, and stickers, and just letting myself go wild and have a good time, because that's really what creation is all about for me. Sometimes I'm going to make something great, sometimes it's going to be silly, and that's amazing. Yeah, I think we're like super creative creatures inherently. And the more that we can lean into that, and the more that we can just express that and let ourselves be that, the better off we are. And that's actually one of the reasons I started these art making circles a few months ago, because I was like, we just need to get together and encourage each other in making silly, nonsensical art. This feels like a really important thing to be doing as a community, to be healing this perfectionism and this like productivity wound together in this space. And then practice savoring. Oh my goodness, I love this. When I read Emily Nagoski's book, Come As You Are, and then her next book that she wrote with her twin sister, I think it's called Burnout. I'm not sure, but the book that they wrote together, they talked about how savoring was like the number one way to work through burnout, the number one way to heal. I thought that was absolutely amazing. Slowing down, taking your time, noticing and enjoying. How much better does something taste when we actually pause and appreciate it? One of my favorite stories or like memories about savoring is I was in this really long extended kink scene. I was tied up, I was blindfolded. I was like in another world. I was in deep, deep subspace. And at some point during that, I don't know who did it, but someone put a raspberry in my mouth. And it was like the best raspberry I've ever tasted. And it's because I was so focused on that sensation. I was so focused on that taste. I was one of the things that happens to me when I'm in deep subspace, and I think it happens to many people, is you just become so much about sensation. You're so tuned into your body, you're so tuned into your pleasure, to your present moment, to every feeling and every sensation that comes up. And so I often think about that when I'm eating a meal. Like, am I really savoring this? Am I really enjoying every bite? Am I eating with pleasure? And same thing like when I'm taking a walk. Am I walking with pleasure? Am I enjoying every step? Am I letting myself look up? Am I noticing what's happening? Because I do think we can rush through things. And especially with like an iPhone in my hand, I'm so tempted to just be doing 1,000 things at once, but our brains are not actually good at multitasking. And it actually diminishes the enjoyment of everything we're doing. We think we're good at it, or we can think we're good at it, but we're really not. And so what's helpful is to pause. And I know a dominatrix who talks a lot about monotasking and how that's one of the magics of being a dominatrix and being in kink spaces. Is like in kink space, often like we monotask, we like really focus in on something. And I think that's another great way to savor, is by really focusing in on something, by turning off things, by focusing our attention on the one thing we want to be enjoying and really taking it all in. I have another friend that talks about sense memory. So, not just the memory, the visual memory, but what is the memory of how something tastes, how something feels, of the pressure, the texture, and really letting that be another way that we let ourselves make memory. I think that's really beautiful and a beautiful way of savoring. Which leads me to my next point, which is collecting moments. I have a grandma who I love so much, who's 92, and she and I were talking a few months ago, and she was telling me that she thought life was a ton of joy with little moments of sorrow. And now at 92, she's looking back and realizing it was actually a lot of sorrow with moments of joy. And so she was encouraging me to collect the moments of joy. And I thought that was a really sweet, loving elder thing to share, is like, just make sure you're really enjoying the good moments, make sure you're really capturing them, let them count, make sure that you take them in. And so, again, one way to do that is to savor, to reflect. You can frame them, like in your mind, take mental pictures and make sure you're highlighting them. I love to write down my favorite frames. What was really good about my day, what was really good about my week or my month or my year. Every time I reflect, I try to like collect those. Our brains are not amazing at remembering things, and every time we remember something, we change it. So one of the great things about writing things down is it's sort of frozen in time, and we can always revisit that, which feels really beautiful. And a lot of times I'll go back through my highlights and I'll be like, oh my God, I don't remember any of this. But now that I'm reading it, I remember it and it counts and it's awesome. And it's like I left myself these little like breadcrumbs or clues. I left my future self like these gifts, these beautiful moments to look back and remember. And that's me really enjoying this moment with this lamb. That was a few years ago in Iceland. I was with my former partner, and we were taking a trip around the country. And he had asked his friend, who was a farmer, if we could visit his farm. And the friend who was the farmer, who's an older person, was like, "Oh, you're bringing an American to my farm." And Thorther was like, "Yeah, but they're not like any American. Like they're cool. They're cool." And so when we got there, and I was speaking Icelandic with this farmer, and then I was like asking him if I could go and visit his homelands, because that's a really nostalgic thing for me, to hold a homeland. He was like, "Are you sure you're American?" I was like, "Yes, I'm sure I'm American. I just have like a real affinity for Icelandic farms and for homelands in particular." And so he let me go out and hold and feed his homelands. And Thorther snapped a picture, and it was just like, oh, that's a moment I want to remember forever, is holding that lamb. And then when I left the barn later, the lamb followed me out, like got out of its cage and followed me. And I was like, oh my gosh, I want to take this lamb home, but I'll just have to freeze this moment and take this moment with me. And then my last thing for today, which relates to a lot of this, is to make lists, to actually write things down, to leave ourselves clues, to help ourselves out in remembering things. our brains are so, so good at so many things, but remembering things and storing information long term, especially in detail, is not one of them. So making ourselves lists, giving ourselves clues, giving our future self these like little insights into things we've already discovered is a really important way of helping ourselves out. It's a beautiful way to collect things we love, we like, things that give us pleasure or excite us, our favorite moments, practices, and activities. Once I discovered Notion, I just started keeping so many lists, and I swear it's like changed the way I live, because if I'm having a moment where I'm feeling anger, I just go to my anger list and I'm like, oh, these are the practices I love to do when I'm angry. Oh, these are the things I love to do in the summer in New York. Oh, these are the things I love about this one activity or whatever it is. So it feels really good to have lists and have these clues. It's almost like a manual for ourselves, and it's really beautiful to go back and visit them. And so, yeah, that is the activity today. I want to give everybody like 3 minutes to start making a list. You can make it on paper, you can make it on your iPhone, you can just speak it out loud, whatever feels good. I do really recommend eventually writing it down, but I want to encourage everybody to start making a list of things you love to do. And if you need a little more prompt for that, it's what activities bring you joy? What do you wish you could do more of? Whenever I ask myself what I wish I could do more of, I'm always like astounded by the things that I'm wishing I can do more of. That's the other thing, is once we start writing them down, we're like opening that treasure chest of information, bringing it into the conscious mind. So we're just going to take 3 minutes. We'll come back at 44 after the hour, and just write down a few things that you love. If you want to share in the chat, I would love to read it. If not, no big deal. Yes, thank you so much. And I'm just going to like chill here, unmute, or write me in the chat if you need some assistance or encouragement. We're now at the part where I'm going to tell you what I'm working on and what I'm excited about. And then we're going to close up with another mini meditation. So, yeah, thank you all for making some lists. I hope you continue making them and make even more lists. They're so fun to make. It's so fun to look at, especially when you need them. Just an FYI, tomorrow I'm having my final Zoom birthday celebration. It's going to be at 4 p.m. EST. I will drop the sign up at the end of this call in the chat. We're going to be celebrating. It's going to be beautiful. We're going to be doing some more guided meditations. We'll be doing some celebrations. One of my dear friends is going to be reading some poetry that she wrote. She's an incredible poet, and then leading us in a word bath. And then another dear friend of mine is going to be doing a collective tarot reading for us, which feels really special. I'm really excited to have that happen. It's like such a gift to have them reading tarot for us. So that's tomorrow at 4 p.m. EST. Please join if you feel called to. I'd love to see you there. And then I just wanted to tell you, if you want some more MaryAnn magic, how and where you can get it and what I'm up to. You can follow me on Instagram. I have a personal account and a business account. My personal account right now is definitely the one where I'm posting more, still working on that balance. On my website, I have free meditations and this really beautiful activity for exploring gender. Definitely check that out if you want to. It's really wonderful. I also offer pay what you wish circles. I do those like when I want to, so those are a little sporadic, which is really fun. Sometimes they're breath work, sometimes they're like activities to explore gender or explore inner landscapes. Sometimes they're an art making circle where we just do a guided meditation and then we just like put on some music and make art for an hour together, which feels really, really fun. And then at the end, we do a little show and tell. Those have been really fun. There's another one of those coming up in April. And then I also have a monthly replenish circle. Replenish circles are for trans and non-binary beings to talk about and explore and discuss scarcity and abundance and work on it in community. Something I'm really, really passionate about, something that I'm really dedicated to is trans wealth and trans abundance, and restoring that, getting back to a place where that is the norm and our community is super supported and super resourced. So that's one of the ways that I'm doing that. That happens every month. It's a pay what you wish circle. It's super, super magical. If you know anybody who might be interested in that, please pass that along. That's a really unique space that I'm really proud of and really excited to see continue to grow. And then last but not least, I also offer one-on-one coaching, and I'm so excited to be offering this new year-long magical mentorship. It's a really big offering for me, and I'm really excited about it. It's like literally going to be life-changing. So my year-long magical mentorship, it's going to be 3 sessions a month for 12 months. The first person to sign up for it is going to get an extra month, a 13th month, which feels like a really exciting thing to get that extra month, that extra month. And yeah, it's 33,000 for the year. There's all kinds of yummy bonuses and other things that go along with it. And if you want to talk about it, go ahead and book a call, drop the link in the chat, or it's right here on the slide. And we'll do a magical mini mentorship, which is a 75-minute call where the first hour we're going to be coaching and doing mentorship. And then after, we're going to talk about strategy and if and how you want to continue, which is really exciting. So definitely check that out. I'm really, really excited about that. It's a really special new offering that I have. So thank you so much for being here. It's like such an honor to get to do this work and share this work and share myself with you. I'm going to stop the share and just take us into a little guided mini meditation. And then after that, we can just hang out a little bit if anybody wants to. Just taking a deep breath because talking so much. Coming back to your body and your spirit in any way that feels good. If you want to close down your eyes or relax your gaze, inviting you to do so. Finding yourself really secure and really sovereign back in that golden egg. Feeling yourself so held, so supported, so seen and so safe. And then remembering that we are in this beautiful circle of golden eggs, supported and uplifted by all these beautiful, well-bright ancestors and supportive allies and benevolent energies, feeling them with us, feeling the circle so strong. Breathing into that. And then breathing in anything you want to take with you from this call, from this session, any lessons or any realizations, any sensations, any inspiration for list making or things to go do that you enjoy. Just breathing all that in and letting it infuse into your very cells, letting it nourish your body and your spirit. Inviting you to take that with you with such effortlessness. And then breathing out anything you want to release, anything that you don't need with you or don't want with you. Letting it go with gratitude and love, with deep care. Letting it recycle back into the cosmos, back into the universe. And then I want to invite you to give yourself so much gratitude. So much gratitude for being here, for being a human on this planet at this time, for all the things that you show up for all the ways that you show up. Really offering yourself some love and some gratitude, some appreciation. Celebrating all that you are and all that you do. And then extending that gratitude to every human in this circle and to all the energies and beings and ancestors that showed up for us today. Feeling that center space, that beautiful landscape where we were playing and co-creating and exploring. Just feeling it start to dissolve and dissipate back into the universe. And again, if there's anything you want to take with you from that landscape, just inviting it in through your breath. Knowing it can come with you. feeling yourself fortified by this circle, by this connection, by the connection to yourself. Taking a few more breaths here and inviting your body to relax and release. And then feeling your golden egg float off in the direction that is most beautiful and aligned for you. Letting yourself surrender and be carried by your egg into your future. Fueled by your intentions and your desires. And then whenever you're ready, beginning to transition back into your body, back into this present moment. Maybe stretching, maybe wiggling fingers or toes, maybe twisting or making some sounds or shaking. Thank you all so much for being here.